Welcome to Warblog. Today we're going to look at the recapture of Saraqib. This is a startling scenario because they've sort of lost part of the M5 highway, and I find that to be quite incredible, really. It's a big map, and essentially they take all of this. Let's just jump into play mode. So they take all of this big chunk, out of the gains that the Syrian army have made. Now it's mainly because of the Turkish involvement, because obviously the Syrian army were pushing the Turks back. I mean, pushing the Hayat Tahrir Sham units back, and so they obviously weren't winning. And so now that they are, obviously they've got something that is turning the tide, and it's the Turkish support in one form or another. No one, I'm not sure whether anyone really knows exactly what's happening, in the sense that whether or not it's sort of Turkish armed forces actually specifically helping in the ground combat. There are suggestions that there is. I mean, essentially, what's sort of being said, I mean, I haven't really read a lot, but on the South Front site in particular, is that it's artillery. So they're getting artillery support. So we've got one there. We've got sort of this thing here. Obviously we've got some there. And there's a big stack under there. Now we've got some Syrian artillery scattered about. You know, so now, but the thing that I've sort of specifically changed in this scenario through and through is the range of the artillery. So the at least I think I have. They all seem to be crossed out. Are there any other artillery pieces? There you go. There's one there, and I think they're 8s. But the Turkish artillery are 9s. But even so, I mean, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they can all hit. These can all hit that sort of radius. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they can hit that. You know, and especially if they move forward, you know, they'll be able to hit a lot. Because usually it's only got a 4 radius or something. So I've given it a bit more to sort of give it a bit more realism, because the distances are such that that's the case, really. But I've also put in some special force units. Reason being that they sort of suggest that there are Turkish special force units sort of supporting the operations, and also, because we're in play mode, you won't be able to see this, but on turn 2 or 3 there's some Turkish armour that comes on, and there's also some Turkish mechanized. Now I put these here because I think that they are supporting them in some way. They are sort of providing the Hayat Tahrir Sham and the Front for Liberation units with, you know, armoured fighting vehicles and things like that. But I've sort of inferred that they've integrated them with their regular units, so they're not driving around in them in that sense. They are also sort of providing them with the ATGMs, but again, we just sort of incorporated them in their sort of traditional ATGM units there, so they're not Turkish or anything like that. But what we do have is these Front for Liberation units. I'm pretty sure they're Front for Liberation units. We'll find out in a bit. Something. It's a bit of an odd name really, but they're the other militants that are sort of in that area. I don't know whether they'll be able to do anything because the Syrians do have their air power and their Russian air support. So really, we don't really know exactly whether or not that will actually do anything, or whether or not the balance of power on this map in this game is sufficient for the to achieve the historical outcome. We've got the Turkish units in these Turkish observation points. This one I left on the road, I don't know why, but the other ones I sort of moved a bit off the road. I think they're sort of they're on the road, but I didn't want to sort of put them blocking the road too much. Again, there he's not blocking the road, etc., etc. But they're in there, and I think they'll be quite tough. And I don't think the Syrians are directly targeting these observation posts, so you can sort of leave them as they are. But the problem is they exert a zone of control. And further to the point, what's sort of interesting about this sort of situation is that, well, there have been sort of videos and sort of things of them actually firing surface-to-air missiles at Syrian aircraft. Now I say that, they might be firing them at Russian aircraft, I don't know, but you're getting very close to you know, the Syrians fighting the Turks. And I think it's Erdogan, I can remember his name, not much really, but the Turkish president, I'm pretty sure it's president, or maybe the Turkish prime minister, the Turkish leader, Erdogan, if that is his name, I'm not pronouncing it different, it's something like that, he sort of, because they've basically been charged with oversight of the de-escalation zone, so to speak, and that's why these observation posts are there. He's basically exerting his responsibility to protect the current positions in Idlib, the Hayat Tahrir Sham and the Syrian rebels and the jihadists, and that's why he's sort of counter-attacking, and they're basically demanding that the Syrians and the Russians pull back to the sort of 2018 positions, which are sort of, losing all their gains, and the Syrians really don't want to do that. So the thing is, you can sort of see what Erdogan is his position, in the sense that he's, he was there to sort of enforce this sort of de-escalated zone, or this, this sort of peaceful arrangement, and there's not a lot more that he can do. He's got to act, so to speak. I mean, he's got to sort of actually do something to protect that. And I think the thing that's so amazing about this is that they spent so long taking this M5 highway, and now they're losing it again. And also the fact that it demonstrates the ability of a superior fighting force. I'm not saying they are superior to the Syrian army, but I mean, they're superior to Hayat Tahrir Sham, who are basically just a bunch of people driving around in pickups with AK-47s and heavy caliber machine guns. They've got the Turkish armed forces there. What they can actually do, they can actually push back this entire military operation that has been essentially quite successful up to now. And some of the videos in the South Front article, they show a lot of the things that the Syrians have lost, a lot of machinery, a lot of vehicles, a lot of bits and pieces, tanks being lost, and I'm just thinking, the Syrians probably, they've been on a wing and a prayer, so to speak, to some extent, with their gains, pushed heavily by the Russian air power. It's the Russian air power, I think, that has been going in there, just blowing places up, resulting in the rout or the retreat or the annihilation of the Tahrir Sham units. And then Syrians have just gone in there, with basically zero resistance. but now they're actually fighting against something. It's quite a bit different, and they're actually sort of routing and losing equipment. And I'm not sure. The point I'm trying to get to some extent is, how many tanks can they actually lose? I mean, things like tanks are expensive. I mean, they're expensive for both sides, especially when both sides have got such sort of capable anti-tank technology. So I imagine that this whole process will probably shake things up quite considerably. I mean, I don't know exactly what is happening elsewhere, but I've read, in other sort of instances that the Turks are going to strike anywhere, not just in Idlib. So they might come down through the Euphrates Shield sort of area from the north, or through Afrin, or who else, or other parts of the Turkish border. So I think it's interesting, really. And another thing that I found interesting was the take of the BBC, and it always frustrates me, their reporting. I'm not partisan on any side, but reading all this, and you sort of think, well, okay, the Syrians have taken this, and then the Tayyar al-Sham and with Turkish support have taken this back. And the BBC headline on the Middle East section today was, let me see if I can get it on this other screen. It was basically, here it is: airstrike in Syria, Idlib kills 29 Turkish troops. Let's just see what this says. Well, that's fair enough, but it doesn't really sort of take into play the full scale of what's happening. It doesn't say Turks counterattack Syrian positions in Afrin and all of that stuff. But its map has actually got the M5 highway all intact. I noticed that. So this map is actually dated the 24th, and it's actually the 27th. And if you actually look at this, I mean, if we actually have a look at the original thing, I'm so behind on everything, it's unreal. But if you look at the dates, it's the 25th to the 27th. These are all 25th to 27th gains, so this is actually already out of date. But I mean, look at that. That's got to be. And that's such a manky old tank, isn't it? I thought that had to be a Syrian tank, but I mean, it's almost it's almost lopsided on this side. But there was something in here that basically said Syrian army targets schools and hospitals. It was a headline, because I don't really tend to read a lot, especially on this site. Let me have a look. I had a look under Middle East. So we go to Middle East. Yeah, fresh Syrian strikes target schools and hospitals. And it always gets me, because the thing is, there's no way that they are targeting schools and hospitals. This doesn't serve any purpose. I mean, what are they suggesting? That they're maliciously malign and they want to hurt children? They're thinking, well, should we kill violent rebels with AK-47s, or should we kill some children? Decisions. They're not targeting schools and children and hospitals. I mean, human rights groups said, I'm not doubting maybe that some schools and hospitals have been hit. It was a bit like this other one in here, and I'm not sure that it's in the BBC. It's the on this. There's so much happening actually, but I don't find it very easy to sort of model or reflect the Gaza situation. It's always a bit difficult, and for some reason my connection's not that brilliant. Talking about rockets, this one here, this photo, one rocket from Gaza struck a children's playground in the Israeli town of Sderot on Monday. It's just my connection is somehow really bad. But this is a picture, and obviously there's a little pocket. What would you call it? There's a little crater with a missile hit and some stuff. And obviously it's a children's playground, but you know, it's always that the bad guys are targeting children's playgrounds and hospitals, and you know, the Israeli missile strikes are sort of precision and targeting. It says it in here somewhere. The Israeli military has carried out airstrikes against the militant group. They didn't carry out airstrikes against PIG schools and hospitals. They when they do it, it's against militant groups. On Sunday morning, 20 rockets were fired from Gaza into southern Israel, causing some damage. Overnight, the Israeli military struck what it called PIG terror targets. So it didn't strike PIG schools and hospitals. It struck terror targets. And so, you know, you can see where it's all going. It just blows my mind really to just read the BBC. It just, you know, fresh Syrian strikes target schools and hospitals, not fresh Syrian strikes target terror targets. You know, they've got this interchangeable language that codifies everything. You know, and I don't want to sound partisan because I'm just not, but you know, it just sort of, when you realise that what's happening is they're taking this and then they're taking it back, and you know, I think the thing that sort of, well, if you even look at that's the one we're sort of playing. If you even look at, I'm so behind, it's embarrassing really, but if you look at this, the battles for Al Nayrab. Now I put this together actually yesterday, I think, I was quite pleased with it, although I haven't done the map properly yet. But what I was pleased with to some extent was figuring out this sort of schedule of things, because they've been attacking it. So basically, on the 3rd of February, Syrian Air Army captured Al Nayrab. Now I put all this together based on all of these articles. I mean, there might be a few more attacks, but on the 6th of February, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham launched a major counterattack. On the 10th of February, there was more fierce clashes. On the 12th of February, they launched another major counterattack with Turkish artillery. On the 20th of February, Tahrir al-Sham and National Front for Liberation launched a major counterattack with reports of Turkish battle tanks and commandos being used. And on the 24th, they succeeded in capturing it. You know, they've been pounding and pounding and pounding, and the South Front site actually is quite interesting because it's quite biased, but it's a sort of bias that you can sort of not so much tolerate, but you can sort of, you can get used to it because it's not a clever bias, it's a rather stupid bias in the sense that it's so obvious. But I probably won't be able to find it because it's so far back. They do a lot of articles. I have problems keeping up, but there's one in here that says impregnable. It's 27th. All these things. I mean, I haven't even. Turkish-led forces re-enter Saraqib following collapse of Syrian army defense. I haven't even looked at that one yet. I haven't seen a lot of this. Undercover network of tunnels. Not seen that. I've seen that. Idlib militants use Turkish-supplied manpads to target Syrian warplanes. Syrian army lose more positions around Saraqib and following new Turkish-led attack. So it says Turkish-led attack, indicating that it's led by the Turkish armed forces. That's why I put the tanks and things in there. It's very much sort of like NATO's rubbish. The mighty moustache Erdogan vowed to put Idlib airspace under Turkish control. And they put a funny hat on his head. You know, I mean, they say the first thing in war to go is truth, and everything's misinformation. And you know, I think there's a lot to it. Turkish-led forces are fleeing from southern Idlib. Kafr Nabil is in the hands of the Syrian army. You know, all this stuff. Look, Facebook investigates suspicious pro-Saunders content. I mean, I don't even know who uses Facebook. I've got a Facebook thing, and no one ever looks at it. If I post something on there, I'll get like three views or something. Turkish forces lost another village to Syrian troops amid clashes in Nayrab. So this is going back to the 25th. Violent riots in India. I'll have to maybe cover that because that's looking pretty. There's a lot of things happening around the world, but riots and things are always sort of. I haven't looked at this, but it looks interesting. Syrian battle tank plays cat and mouse with Turkish armoured vehicle. It looks as though there's a. I haven't looked at it, and I'm not going to yet. The thing is, there's so much happening, and I just can't keep up with it because I've got to do other things. Turkey doesn't supply militants with equipment; they just jump in. It's like, okay. I know what I'm looking for. I apologise if I'm just going all over the place on this. Maybe I've gone past it already. Russian airstrikes pound Turkish convoys. Syrian government officially reopened Damascus-Aleppo highway. Well, obviously that's just now being closed. Because I don't know. I think the spin on all these sorts of things is bizarre. You know, it's what gets me the most really, because I like to look at things from what I'd call a technical perspective. I think I've gone way past it now. Let's just scroll up and see if I can. It says impenetrable Nayrab. It's like a banner or something. But I would have thought the BBC and, you know, they'd be talking about the capture, because this is the strategic objective, the M5 highway and Idlib. You know, but they just focus on schools and hospitals. You would have thought that there were no more schools and hospitals left standing. It's like in the Second World War, there were more German aircraft shot down than there were ever built. Don't extradite Assange. Probably gone way past it. Netanyahu threatens all-out war after 90 rockets fired from Gaza. I haven't even read that one yet. I should really read it. I've even forgotten why I wanted to find that impenetrable Nayrab. It was basically, it was an example, I think, of the sort of spin that South Front puts on things, because they've taken Al Nayrab and, you know, there's always attacks, but of course the Syrian army is too great and they keep getting repulsed, but now they've obviously lost it, and So in retrospect, it's quite an ironic article, but obviously I can't find it, and I'm not going to spend any more of my video time looking for it because I haven't even started yet. The Fall of Saraqib. I think it's one of these. Attack Arab. It's one of these sort of. There it is. All that effort, and I haven't even looked at it, but it says impregnable Narab. Turkish casualties. Assad forces give Turkish army whipping in eastern Idlib. And then they take it, obviously. So that was all I wanted to look at there. So I'm just going to play it because I've been speaking for 25 minutes. Now, I'm not going to do too much thinking because I'm about to go to sleep. I'm sort of prepared for sleep, so to speak. So, and to be quite honest, it's a big game, and I've spoken for so long, and I'm not in the frame of mind for actually playing it properly. I just wanted to look at it really, mainly because it's on a bigger screen. If you looked at some of the other videos, I mean, this is a big map, and nearly the whole thing is on the screen because it's on a big monitor, but it's quite a distance away. And ironically, I can't actually see all the pieces properly. I can't see them properly, you know, not like my other one that I've been doing this fantastic video work on for a while. The capture of the liberation or the opening of the M5 highway. That was done on my. It's actually a little dedicated gaming laptop I've got set up at another location, but I'm not there now. And I can sit down and really focus and concentrate and play it. Here I'm so far away I can barely see anything, and I don't feel like I'm not sort of, you know, it's like it's not set up properly. But I just wanted to get into it, mainly because I've got so many of these bloody empty things. I feel really bad about this, but at the same time I'm sort of thinking, gosh, you know, hopefully I'll be able to look at them all. Hopefully I'll be able to make some sense out of this. I've never been in a position that's been so sort of green, coming soon. Really, I mean, that's like 2 entire pages of coming soon. Hopefully I'll get through it. But the thing that I want to figure out here is how effective this Turkish artillery is going to be. I mean, what do we want to take out first? We want to take out some, and this is Al Nayrab. So we've got some Turkish artillery. Let's see what we can do here with just Turkish artillery. Look at it all. That is obscene. See, this is what the this is what the Hayat Tahrir Asham. I can never remember. I can never say any of these names. I really get a phrase book out. But this is what they didn't have, and now that Turkish artillery is here, routed. See, this is the reenactment almost entirely. Right, we're not going to do any more on that because we've only got one more unit left in there in our NARAB, and he's at 4.5, so he's actually doing okay. But we've got these guys here and here. Well, we've got some special forces here, so we can attack with the special forces. So we've got 3 units here. 7-1 DE. So we push them back, and we want to push these guys back as well. We should get a 7-1 again on this. Yep. So moving on to Al Nayrab is a piece of pie. Jesus, engineers. Now that Turkish artillery, I think, and the special forces have made a big difference. If you recall the videos from those previous YouTube videos that I've got, you'll see that it was a hard slog. And those games were so difficult. This is just slicing through butter. We have not got to Al Nayrab yet, but I'm pretty sure we're going to get there with a minimum of fuss. Okay, so that's our front wave sort of used up to some extent. So I've got 2 more units in there, but I don't want to use them all up on that. He's at 6. Right. I think we should be able to push them back. Yeah, so we've eliminated that unit. Opening up Al Nayrab 2. A major assault. By Turkish commandos. And National Front for Liberation irregulars. And look, some Syrian units in the same hex. I'll have to sort that out. Will we get? Let's try it. Will we get the multipliers that we need? 6-1 and DR, yes. And there it is. Well, maybe the tight house sham units should move in there. They can't. They can't either, or can they? No. Does anyone actually have the movement to move in there? We should be able to move these guys in there. So that was the fall of Al Nayrab. And I think that is quite a dramatic turn of events. You know, I mean, I don't want to focus too much on what the BBC said, but I just, because I'm half tired, I think I will, but, none of the headlines reflect that. They never reflect this, that is the main thing that's going on. I mean, the fact that airstrikes in Syria's Idlib killed 29 Turkish troops is sort of, well, there's a war on. I mean, what is that? Some kind of, it's a bit like saying painter gets paint on his clothes whilst painting wall. The article should be painter paints wall. Because that's what happens. And it's all, I don't know, it's sort of Syrian war, 29 Turkish troops killed in airstrike in Idlib. But, the Turkish troops are attacking Al Nayrab, or liberating it, or capturing it, whatever you want to say. But, that should be maybe the headline. But they want to make out that, I think they want to make out that, that Syria and the Assad regime are the aggressors, and I think that I don't think they are really. I mean, it's Syria, isn't it? They're trying to get Syria back. I mean, obviously that's what they want to do. I mean, if you read the South Front site, and again, they are definitely more pro-Assad. There's quite a lot in there about how there's one article in here somewhere, if I can find it, and they show basically a Tahir al-Asham bloke with ISIS insignia. Basically stating that the people that the BBC are supporting are ISIS, type people. There is Turkish-led forces made another fruitless attempt to capture Nayrab from the brave Syrians. They didn't put brave in, did they? But they might as well have. When South Front says this, 13 Turkish soldiers were killed in airstrike in southern Idlib. They might put 13 stupid Turkish soldiers. That's what I'm saying. But Syrian troops in recently liberated town of Kafes Sanja. I'm not sure I can find it now, but smiling Turkish-backed militant tells mother of dead Syrian soldier that he was beheaded. I haven't looked at that video. It's so sort of, I don't know. That's why I like the maps. The maps are sort of fairly sort of non-partisan. See, there's the Turkish observation post fired US-made missiles at Russian airplane, Russian warplane. Anyway, I can't find it, but basically, these people are running around with ISIS insignias on their arms. So that's the fall of Al-Nayrab, and then obviously they go on to here, Saraqib, and I'm not going to do any more than that. They're obviously going through like butter, but the thing is, they can probably only get about as far as that. You've got to physically move the distance. I put in some terrain. These are based around the hills, so that's Tal, Sheikh, Mansour, whatever it is, and this is some other place, because so far I can't read it. But so they're like 10 elevation. These are 20 elevation. These are 10s. It's all relative, so they're not actual heights. But I've put in these ones just to sort of break things up. So these are -10, so this goes down. This is level. This is 10. This is, I've given it a 10 because it's Tal. It's a mountain of some sort, of a hill. But there's no, I don't know what that is. It's not even on the map. I just put in some variation on the heights. I don't really like contours because unless you've actually got something, if you're here, I can I know there's a hill here, but I have no idea what shape it is. And I can't find a ready, reliable. I've got a sort of source for contours and heights, but it's not. It's not. It's not as great as I would like. But I think basically what I'd like to say before I sort of stop is that obviously these units will only be able to get as far as they can, but then the Syrians will fire their artillery back, because obviously it's you go, I go, you go, I go, and I think that once that starts happening, this whole assault will lose a bit of momentum. But we've got masses of troops there, but as soon as they start to move in this direction, I think that there will be some counterattacks, and at some point I think there will be some sort of balance, but I'm pretty sure they should be able to get all the way over to here. And I think this in theory could be an epic game if I hadn't sort of talked for so long and played it properly. And I think it would be. I mean, the pieces are there, but the thing that I'm trying to get to is that the Syrians obviously have all that air power, and what that means is that when they go, when it's the Syrian turn, now obviously there's air defense units. I was going to put some Turkish air defense, but I forgot. But when they've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But when they do, what do you think they're going to target? Special force units? Artillery units? I mean, there's going to be a leveling of capability across the board. Now here, there's a bit of air defense, and there's 2 there, 2 there, so maybe going after these ones might be the thing, because there's only 1 little air defense unit there, and there's 4 there. These are the ones that fired, but they're in defense. So basically, bit by bit, I imagine that the artillery will be the first target, because that was what really knocked all these units out of Al-Nayrab. And just a little thing on Al-Nayrab. I'm just going to maybe have a is that I imagine it's just a ruin now. I mean, the Syrians obviously had no qualms in using airstrikes to take out the strategic defensive positions in and around Al-Nayrab, which means they razed it to the ground. Then there were like at least 3 or 4 major rebel counterattacks on it, which would have also caused a lot of damage. And now you've got the Turkish artillery counterattacking I imagine that Al Nayrab is just a ruin. And which is obviously sad. There you go. Al Jazeera have reported Turkish-backed fighters recapture key town in Syria's Idlib. Turkey, can Ankara's sudden change of heart on NATO save the day in Idlib? I wonder what that means. Moderate opposition takes key village in northern Syria 18 hours ago. That's an interesting picture. This is how they fire their AK. He looks like he's using his iron sights, but look, that's just a ruin, isn't it? That's just an earthwork. And so we've got engineers, well, that's just, all these broken concrete structures. I mean, he's using his indirect area fire. He's open to shoot someone about 3 miles away. He need to fire it. It's holding the magazine as well. I'm sure you're not supposed to hold the magazine. I don't know why, but it's just a ruin. And there he is, look. I often wonder how these battles would go if you actually had highly trained military forces. I always refer to the Americans on that, but it could be anyone really, because I'm sure they would never fire their guns like that. Just ruins. No. Is that some sort of ISIS sign there? ISIS real estate for rent sign, maybe. There's that Syrian flag flying up there. Satellite dishes. I mean, that's what's left of these places. Let's stay at that car. So that's probably what Al Nayrab looks like now. What's this? Fireworks day, is it? That looks like an Hayat Tahrir rocket. They make their own rockets, don't they? I wonder where it's going. It doesn't, in that trajectory, it doesn't look like it's going to go very far. Turkish forces and factions attack Al Nayrab town with rockets. What's this site? What is this site? Syria HR. Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. Turkish forces and factions attack Al Nayrab town with rockets amid anticipation of launching ground offensive less than a minute ago. This is written on the 20th of the 2nd, so it's over a week ago now. Turkish forces and opposition factions storm Al-Nayrab amid fierce battles with regime forces. That looks like a generic photo because all of a sudden it's very hilly and I don't see anything. It's quite flat there. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I apologise for the sort of lack of exciting hex encounter video. You know, maybe it's not up to my usual standards really, but I'm so tired. I was more interested in getting this game set up, and I think that they're definitely going to walk through this. There's going to be some sort of buffering where essentially, you know, after 2 or 3 turns, when the air power starts to sort of bite in to these artillery things, you know, there's going to be some sort of like development of a front line, maybe like there. Well, it wouldn't be there, would it? But you know, as they progress forward, they'll actually start to take exchanges. You know, as it starts to get there. But I think we should be able to get there. But at some point, it will stop. But maybe the Syrians need more units to even make that sort of feasible. But you know, all that effort to get the the M5 highway for naught. Okay, I'll leave it at that, and I'll speak to you later. Cheerio.